I asked him, I said, Senator, you've met heads of state, presidents, Supreme Court justices. What's the most exciting thing to ever happen to you? And he thought for a minute. He looked at me and he said, well, sonny boy, I hope it hadn't happened yet. Okay, you stumbled in to fill in the blanks. And, when I said fill in the blanks, I meant fill in different kinds of blanks. Sometimes it's fill in the blanks in other people's lives, but this time I'm starting a series where I'm talking about filling in the blanks in your lives. Not somebody else's lives, your lives. This is a series that I want you to get something out of. Look, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't even draw a straight line. So that means when I talk to somebody, they got to get something out of it, because you're not looking at me for eye candy. And like I say, I can't entertain you with singing or dancing. So what is it I want you to get out of this? I want you to get out of this fill in the blank series an edge. I want you to get an edge in your life. And here's the first edge I want you to get. I want you to be able to figure out who you are and how you got to be who you are, where you are. Now think about that. You know what you do. You know what your job is. You're a mom, you're a dad, but you're a baker, a candlestick maker, you're an accountant or an architect or a teacher. That's what you do. That's not who you are. So I want you to know who you are, and more importantly, how you got to be there. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to figure this out. All right, now to help you figure out that distinction, I've got to give you some tools to do that, okay? The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is move your position. To understand what I mean by that, I want you to fill this sentence in for me. How would you complete this sentence? I would rather be right than blank. Think about that. I'd rather be right than blank. Now, I guarantee you 90% plus of you finish that sentence this way. You said, I'd rather be right than wrong. Of course, you'd rather be right than wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong. If you're in an argument or you're picking out something, you always want to be right. So you'd finish that sentence, I'd rather be right than wrong. I want you to move your position just for the time that you're listening to me today and for the rest of this Living by Design series. What I want you to do is think about it differently. I want you to finish the sentence this way. I don't want you to say, I'd rather be right than wrong. What I want you to say is, I would rather be happy than right. Now, that's very different. I would rather be happy than right. Look, we have enough right fighters. We got enough people out there that are right. They're always right, always got to be right. God, don't you get sick of those people that are right all the time. I don't want you to be one of those. I don't want you to be right. I want you to be happy. I mean, you might get in an argument with your kid and say, get a haircut, no tattoos, shut up, do what I tell you. You may be right because you're the parent, but does it make you happy? Does it make your family happy? So I'm going to ask you to move your position just for the time we're talking. Instead of being so committed to being right, in terms of evaluating everything I talk to you about in terms of whether what I'm telling you is right or wrong, what I want to ask you to do is look at it in terms of whether what I'm telling you makes you happy. You can be right again as soon as we finish. Soon as you turn me off, get out of your car, finish your walk, go back to whatever you want to do, you can go back to being right. But as long as we're talking, look at everything I ask you to consider in terms of whether or not what you're doing in your life currently and what I might ask you to do in your life moving forward, does it make you happy? I don't care if it makes you right. What I care, does it make you happy? So I'm going to ask you to move your position from being right to being happy. And you know what? That might just stick. You just might decide, you know what? I've been right all my life. It's time to be happy. Now, when I say move your position, what do I mean by that? Think about it. I can say, okay, stand at the hood of your car. Now move to the trunk of your car. That's moving your position. That's what I want you to do in your attitude, your mind. I actually want you to move your position. Now, what do you have to do to affect this change from being right to being happy? Well, Let's call roll because I want everybody here that needs to be there in order for this to happen. And I got some good news and some bad news. It's a short list. Because the good news is the only person you need to make this change is you. The bad news is the only person you need to make this change is you. Now, why is that bad news? Because you can't blame anybody. You're not a victim. You can't say, well, my wife's got to change. My husband's got... No, they don't. No, they don't. They can do whatever they want to do. You have to be the one that changes your attitude. Maybe they'll change, maybe they won't. But when I call roll on who needs to be involved for you to stop being right and start being happy, you're the only one that's involved. You're the only one that you control. And doesn't that work out well? You're the only one you need to control to change from being right to being happy. So let's just get this right. If you're going to live by design, the design is for you. Everybody else you can inspire. I mean, you can get them all excited. Maybe they want to follow you, maybe they don't. But the only person you control is you. So let's clean your house first. We'll worry about everybody else later. By the way, that's always been the case. You have always been the only person you've ever controlled, and you have been doing it on purpose. You may not have thought you were, but you have always done this on purpose. Now, you're probably wondering, why is a 12-year-old sitting around wondering why people do what they do and don't do what they don't do? I remember the split second I became obsessed with that. We had a football game rain out when I was like 12 years old. And we usually play on Saturdays. It was a big rainstorm, so we got rained out. And on Monday, the phone rings and the Salvation Army calls. And they say to our coach, look, we've got a team over here, and we don't get to play all that much. And we saw that you guys had your game rain out on Saturday. Could we come over and play a scrimmage game with you on Monday? And the coach says, well, sure, of course we will. Now, look, I got to tell you, we're pretty cocky. We think we're good, and we look good. I mean, we got the best uniform. Oh, they're black with these silver stripes down the side and black helmets and black wristbands. We think we're really bad, okay? So these guys pull up from the Salvation Army in like 3 pickup trucks, and it looked like the grapes of wrath out there. Now, you may be too young to remember that, but that was back in the Dust Bowl. These kids start falling out of the back of these pickups. Nothing matches. They don't have jerseys. None of the helmets match. And the kid that lines up across from me, he's got on a button-up shirt for a jersey. And the number on the shirt is 4, and it's on in masking tape. Now, I'll tell you how snotty we were. We're in the huddle back there saying, look at this. I mean, what? That's going to come off. Why didn't he do it in magic marker? Well, he didn't do it in magic marker because that was his shirt. That wasn't one of his shirts. That was his shirt. He had to wear that to school the next day. That's why he put the number on in masking tape. Football pants? He had no football pants. He rolled his blue jeans up to his knees so they looked like football pants. Football shoes? No football shoes. He had on loafers. So we've got all this fancy uniforms and equipment. We're thinking we're so bad. And here's this ragtag team. Number 4 lined up across from me. And I got to tell you, when they snapped that ball, that kid hit me so hard, it still hurts when it rains. He hit my shoulder. I thought I'd been hit by a truck. And I got to tell you, over the next hour, they beat us like they were clapping for a barn dance. It was like a track meet. We probably got beat 50-0. These kids ran over us like we were nothing. It finished up, and I crawl over to the car to get in. I looked at my dad and said, what the hell happened? And he said, well, boy, you just got your ass handed to you on a platter. That's what happened. I said, well, yeah, Dad, thanks a lot. I was hoping for a little more in-depth analysis than that. And he said, son, those boys are hungry. Those boys just wanted it more than you did. That's what happened. And right there, that moment, I became envious of those kids from the Salvation Army. In that moment, I thought, I want what they have. That seemed so funny because here I was, we had all the equipment, we had grass on the field. These kids had nothing. But they were so hungry. I mean, they had that eye of the tiger inside. And I remember sitting there in the car, hurting, every part of me hurting, thinking, you know what? If they can do so much with so little, how much should I be able to do with so much? And I thought, I want what they have. Those kids were hungry. They had this desire, I want it. And when they got a chance to play, when they got a chance to be on grass, they wanted to seize that moment, and they ate our sack lunch. I got to tell you. And it wasn't just that day, because I made friends with some of those kids, and they weren't sitting around feeling sorry for themselves. They went the extra mile every time they got a chance. Trust me, if you do something in pattern, if you do something that's part of your personality, you do it because it's what you want, because you get a payoff from it. And these kids got a payoff from being hungry. They got a payoff from being committed. You get a payoff from it some way. And if you don't get something out of it, trust me, you don't continue to do it. Your life won't be made up of things that don't pay you off in some way. Now, you may think, no way, Dr. Phil, I'm not getting a payoff for this. I'm miserable. Look, I'm not saying it's a healthy payoff, but I'm saying you're getting a payoff. It may be a sick payoff. You may be sitting on the sideline watching life go by, and your payoff is you don't have to face the pressure of getting in the game. You don't have to face the risk of getting out of your comfort zone. That is a payoff. Is it healthy? No, but it is a payoff. It's a pathological payoff, but it's a payoff. You don't do something that you don't get something out of. Now, don't you know people in your life who don't get it? I'll give you a minute. Make a list. Maybe you start with your in-laws. I don't know, but don't you know people who just don't get it? They just stumble through life. They just don't seem to know where they're going. They ask asinine questions. They do stupid stuff over and over again. I don't want you to be one of those people. So what is it I want you to get? I want you to get that you need to take care of you so you can take care of other people. I want you to take care of you so you can be a gift to your family. I want you to not be one of those people that stumbles around in life. I want you to be one of the people that says there is a consequence to every behavior, and I get that. So when I choose the behavior, I realize I choose the consequence. And I realize I cannot not choose. Now, that is just one of the 10 laws of life. I'll put the other 10 on the website. I'm not going to go through them all here for you, but I will list them. You don't need to buy the book. I'll list them for you. My dad was an alcoholic, and we did not have a great relationship. But at the end of his life, right before he died, he said something to me that I think was pretty prophetic. He was sober the last 2 years of his life, so we did get along a little bit better then. And right before he died, this was before I'd ever been on Oprah, before I'd ever done anything like that, he told me something that really stuck with me. He said, "Boy, let me tell you something." He said, "I truly believe that during your life, you are going to have the opportunity to intervene in people's lives in such a way that you identify for them threshold moments in their lives that are outcome determinative in where they head, where they wind up. Because oftentimes people don't recognize the gravity of the choices they make. They don't understand when they come to the precipice of moments that can truly change the trajectory of their life." And he said, "I predict that you're going to wind up in a position where you have the opportunity to help people recognize when they come to those moments in their lives." And I don't know what he was paying attention to or what he was really focused on at that point. But what I want you to get is I don't want you to stand at the end of your life and look back over it and say, with 2020 hindsight, I recognize now that I missed some key opportunities to change the trajectory of my family. I miss key opportunities to change the trajectory of my life. I want you to stand at the end of your life and recognize that you were alert enough, that you were situationally aware enough, that you recognize those critical choice points when they occurred. I want you to stand at the end of your life and say, you know what? I got a wake-up call that made me. Internal dialogue is so powerful because it actually gets automatic. Here's the problem. We speak at 125 words a minute. We think at 1,200 to 1,400 words a minute. Now think about what I just said. We think 10 times faster than we talk. So you might say something out loud once, and you can think it 10 times for every one time you say it. A bully at school might say something to you that puts you down one time, and then you repeat it to yourself 1,000 times over the next few days. So I need you to really turn your ear inward and listen to what you're saying to yourself. And it's not enough to just think about it. I need you to go to the website that accompanies this podcast, and you'll find that at drphilintheblanks.com. For this episode, you're going to find worksheets there, and one of them is going to be labeled Internal Dialogue. I'm going to have a few examples there of what I'm talking about, what constitutes internal dialogue, and I want you to start making a list of what you say to yourself. Because until you write it down so you can get some objectivity from it, so you can step back and look at it and go, wow, no wonder I feel the way I do. No wonder I feel the way I do. If I look at this list, I'm saying this stuff to myself all day long. If you don't change your behaviors, you're never going to get the kind of currency that you want mentally, emotionally, and socially. And some people hide from their personal truth by being a workaholic. I was doing a life skills seminar one time, and I had a woman come up to me afterwards, and she said, you know, I was listening to everything you said, but I just don't have time for it. I mean, I said, really? Where do you live? She said, in a white Suburban. I said, what do you mean? She said, I live in a white Suburban. I have 4 children, and they go to 4 different schools. One of them plays soccer, one of them plays basketball, one of them is in band, and one of them doesn't do anything. So she said, I get up in the morning, I go to 4 different schools, I drop them off, I pick them up, I take them to these activities and those activities, and I'm a realtor. So I'm racing around, showing homes, going here, going there, going here, going here, going there. And she said, I'm just burning out. She said, I just feel like I'm just going to explode any second. And I said, well, do something for me. I said, after you drop those kids off to school tomorrow, I want you to go home, turn your phone off, take the phone off the hook, lock the doors, go run a bath, even a bubble bath. Get the stupidest magazines you can find and just go spend 30 minutes relaxing in a bubble bath. She looked at me like I was insane. She said, are you kidding me? She said, oh my God, my mother would turn over in her grave. I said, oh my God, now we're living for dead people? Are you kidding me? Your mother would turn over in her grave? I said, I tell you what, do it every day of the week. Let's spin her like a rotisserie chicken. I don't care if she turns over in her grave. Let's just spin her around. What do you care if she's dead? Give it a shot. Come on. You've got to change something. You've got to change your thinking. You've got to change your behavior. You're making choices that have consequences. I had the opportunity to interview a senator one time. I'm not going to say his name. I'm really not this time. He was one of the oldest people in Congress. And I asked him, I said, Senator, you've met heads of state, presidents, Supreme Court justices. Tell me, everything you've done, everything you've seen, what's the most exciting thing to ever happen to you? And he thought for a minute. He looked at me and he said, well, Sonny boy, I hope it hadn't happened yet. And I thought, wow, what a profound answer. Here's a guy that's been in Congress since Christ was a child, 50, 60 years. And he said, I hope it hasn't happened yet. How about you? How about you? I mean, if you're 40 years old, you've lived 14,000 some odd days, and life expectancy now is pushing into the 90s. Are you one of those people that if I say, what do you do for fun? And you say, well, we used to fish. We used to take a couple weeks and travel. When's the last time you did that? Oh, it's been, what is it, Mama? Been 6 years, 7 years? Really? Last time you had fun was 6 or 7 years ago? Well, you got 40 years left. And the last time you really gave yourself permission to have fun was 6 or 7 years ago, and you got 40 years left? That's a long, long time to do what you're doing. That's a long time to be boring. I mean, come on. This is no dress rehearsal. You're burning daylight, man. You got to figure out, I got to redefine my life. I got to redefine this. And I'm going to end this conversation with one question I want you to ask yourself, and just let this weigh on you a little bit. Just how much fun are you to live with? Ask yourself that. Don't ask yourself, I'm not asking you to change everything at one time. Just ask yourself this. How much fun are you to live with? The formula for a successful relationship is this. Number one, it's based on a solid underlying friendship, which means, first, what do friends do? They share things, they support each other, they laugh, they talk, they're friends, they invest. It's based on a solid underlying friendship, and it meets the needs of the two people involved. Now think about that. It meets the needs of the two people involved. That means you've got two jobs. Job number one is to work to discover the needs of your partner. Job number two is work to teach your partner your needs. Now, if both of you are doing those two jobs, if you're working to teach your partner your needs and you're working to learn your partner's needs, then you're both teaching and learning at the same time. If he or she is both teaching and learning at the same time, then you've got two people moving towards each other. You're each trying to learn the other's needs and teach the other person your needs. All of a sudden, you're moving towards each other with the common goal of creating intimacy. That might require turning the television off. And in case you didn't know, if you have a television in your bedroom, your sex life suffers 50%. 50%. So if you want to get lucky, kick Kimmel and Fallon and Conan and Corden to the curb. Get them out of your bedroom, but ask yourself, how much fun are you to live with? When I talk about how much fun you are to live with, I don't mean just for your spouse or your kids. I mean you. I've always said if I was going to be alone, I don't want to be a bad person to do it with, so that means I got to get along with me pretty well. And here's the deal. You probably noticed throughout this whole time that I've been talking to you that there's a common theme to what I've been saying, and that is I'm being selfish on your behalf. And you may think, boy, if I do everything he's been talking about, I'm going to feel selfish. Well, don't. Don't feel selfish when you're putting yourself first. Do not feel selfish when you're putting yourself first. Here's why. You can't give away what you don't have. If you love your children, and I know you do, then take care of their mother. Take care of their father. The last thing you want to do is mismanage yourself such that you wind up emotionally bankrupt and become emotionally unavailable or physically unavailable because you have a heart attack and die. So the people that you love and love you don't have you in their lives. You don't want to do that. You got to take care of yourself because you can't give away what you don't have. So is it selfish for you to take some time to yourself? No, not if it prolongs your life, not if it keeps you vibrant and alive so you can be there for the people that you love and love you. I don't want you to be emotionally bankrupt. If you allow yourself to get depressed and anxious and gray and burned out, then so your kids get old enough to get married and they come to you for advice. You say, I got nothing for you. I burned myself out because I wasn't smart enough to take a break and take care of myself. I'm sorry, I can't help you pick a wife or a husband. I can't give you advice about how to be a father or a mother because I'm burned out, or I died 10 years ago and I've been absent in your life all of that time. Don't do that. You do not want to allow yourself to become emotionally bankrupt. And to do that, you got to treat yourself like a bank account. If all you ever do are make withdrawals, you never make any deposits, you are going to wind up with a zero balance. We need mothers, not martyrs. We need fathers, not martyrs. You've got to take care of yourself, and that means you've got to make some deposits. You've got to do some things for yourself, and that's what I've been talking about along the way here. And if you are a mother or a father and you've got kids that are 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, take a real close look, and you're going to notice something. They have arms and legs. They can pick up their own room. They can pick up their own toys. They can even make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And nobody will call Child Protective Services if they have to make themselves a sandwich. You don't have to do everything. And here's an interesting word to put in your vocabulary. No. No, I won't take you here. No, I won't take you there. No, I won't do this. No, I won't do that. We are living in a society with entitled children. They need to hear no. Turn off the television, go outside, rake some leaves, get out in the sun, breathe some fresh air, leave them alone. You want some time alone with your spouse? Robin and I used to tell our kids, look, this door's closed. Unless one of you burst into flames, do not open this door. You have to have some time for yourself. So the theme that you've been hearing here is you've got to take care of yourself, and it's not selfish because you do not want to be emotionally bankrupt. Take care of you. You deserve it. The people you love deserve it. And you're not going to believe what we talk about next week. Now, there's an accompanying web page that goes with this whole series. So when you finish listening to this, and you can listen to it as many times as you want to, but go to the website, that's drphilintheblanks.com, and you're going to find everything we talked about here there, and you're also going to find some personal inventories, some checklists, some personality tests that you can take to help you find out who you are and how you got to be that person. What we're going to talk about next time is what the hell to do with what you found out today, because that's a whole other chapter, and trust me, I'm going to put verbs in my sentences. Give it some thought. We're just getting started. So long.